Hello all. This is my retrospective on The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, which was Disney Plus's second MCU show. And following on from Captain America's retirement and passing of his shield to Sam, clearly with Bucky's blessing. The production was beset with issues from the start due to external factors. First there was COVID, which impacted the narrative because by all reports, the Flag Smashers were going to release a pathogen and that was considered bad taste. Though in truth, the increase in people watching films such as Contagion and 28 Days Later, it could probably have helped. The second was the murder of George Floyd by a police officer and the outrage that followed along with protests and riots. Whilst there were snake oil salesmen and women out to make a fast buck, it did start an important movement to focus on racial issues, and that clearly impacted the writing. So I'm not sure we'll ever know what the show was meant to be originally, because what we got doesn't really fit within those parameters. Instead, it awkwardly injects identity politics. Honestly, most of the time, the show doesn't seem to know where it stands or what it wants to say. There's a lack of commitment, or maybe a lack of talent on the writer's behalf. Falcon Cap, and yes, I'm going to call him that, again, I'll explain why, first appeared during the period in Marvel Comics where they were creating gender and race-swapped versions of their popular characters. The comic didn't sell. But that doesn't single it out, none of those titles had legs, and some characters became downright unpopular. I'm looking at you, Riri. It's not unheard of for derivative characters to be created and become popular in their own rights. In fact, there's been a few others who called themselves Captain America, but they all also fell short. Steve always comes back because Steve Rogers is Captain America. The series kicks off with Sam relinquishing the shield because he's black or something, I'm not sure. The racial politics don't really fit with what we've seen of Sam to date, so it feels out of place. To be honest, it feels like somebody had a story they wanted to tell and Sam is just the conduit for the writer. Meanwhile, Bucky has befriended the father of a man he killed when he was the Winter Soldier. It's a bit weird and creepy really when you think about it. Bad enough he killed his son, but to worm your way into his life is actually a bit creepy. Anyway, what could have been an interesting exploration of Bucky's guilt over his actions whilst mind-controlled is pretty much abandoned after that first episode and doesn't rear its head again until the end of the last episode. Sam and Bucky are trying to stop the main antagonists, the Flag Smashers, who want some stuff that other people in need have because they think they should have it instead. It's a terrible motivation and the show attempts to make them sympathetic, but really they're just selfishly stealing other people's aid. If, say, the organisation, the GRC, who are helping following the return of those snapped away, were actually stealing or profiteering, maybe it would make sense. The Flag Smashers could be latter-day Robin Hoods, but it turns out the GRC have an overwhelmingly difficult job, and the Flag Smashers just have an overinflated sense of their own entitlement. They manufacture their own victim culture to present as folk heroes, and the show's wonky morality wants to sell that. Their leader Carly lacks any presence or gravitas, so why the others follow her is beyond me, let alone how she, a small teenage girl, can fight a seasoned soldier like Bucky. However, even my explanation is more interesting than they are. They're incredibly weak as antagonists, and wishy-washy ideals reek of bad writing. I'll nip through the story quickly. After Sam gives up the shield, the government still want Captain America, so after auditioning multiple candidates, they settle on John Walker. He's a seasoned soldier and a decent guy, fighting with his own demons. When Sam and Bucky try to stop the Flag Smashers stealing medicines, they quickly discover that they have taken a version of the super soldier serum, created by man in a shipping container in Madripoor. Now Madripoor is a type of criminal paradise. So after decades of governments trying, some dude in a shipping container manages to replicate it. I kid you not. Outmanned by the souped up Flag Smashers, Walker and his sidekick Battlestar have to rescue them. But they don't get any thanks, just treated like dicks by a childish pair annoyed the shield Sam gave up is in someone else's hands. And that pretty much continues throughout the season. I'd get it if Sam gave it up because he didn't feel worthy specifically, so a no-name carrying it would be jarring, but that wasn't the reason. Bucky and Sam break Zemo out of jail to help them contact a mysterious character called the Power Broker in Madripoor. It also turns out that Sharon Carter has been hiding there too. Any guesses at the big reveal? Yep. Turns out the ultra-patriotic niece of Peggy Carter, who is shown to have a solid moral core, quickly turns into an underworld boss when she feels abandoned. Beware a woman scorned, I guess, but really, why? Again, it's not her character. Zemo helps them and kills the man who created the formula, as he doesn't want any more superpowered people. The Dora Milaje turn up, showing once again that Wakanda is a law unto itself and ignores other countries' sovereignty, and takes Zemo into custody after defeating Sam, Bucky and Walker. Daniel Bruhl does a great job as Zemo, but it is a bit of a limp ending to his arc. Plus, it's another defeat for Walker and he's taking it hard. The Flag Smashers continue with their terrorism while Sam wants to talk them down and keeps wanting to talk them down. During the story, it's revealed that a black soldier called Isaiah Bradley, now an old man, had been part of a group experimented on with a super soldier serum. It worked on a few temporarily, but he was the wrong skin colour to be a hero. So after trying to save his compatriots, he was court-martialed and spent decades being experimented on in jail. This gives Sam pause again, and this is all part of something I'll get to. The teeny terrorist threatens Sam's family and plans to take the shield. The Flag Smashers ambush Walker and Battlestar. Walker only survives because he's taken the serum. Battlestar wasn't so lucky. Racked with grief and rage at his friend's murder, Walker chases down one of the terrorists and kills him, very publicly. Sam and Bucky then decide to take the shield after a cursory effort to talk Walker down, and he is relieved of duty in disgrace. The terrorists now plan to kidnap members of the GRC, and Falcon Cap has accepted the shield. Just because. He has a suit from Wakanda. Just because. And he and Bucky try to save them. Bent on revenge, Walker arrives, but after the terrorists give up on kidnapping the GRC and decide to just kill them, he chooses to save lives instead. The action is fine, though Sam suddenly seems to be able to hold up a several-ton truck without it crushing him. Then Sam gives the infamous dumb speech, and that's about it. I've already briefly given you an idea of the Flag Smashers, but the show keeps trying to paint them as sympathetic, which highlights the lack of morality in the writing. The teeny terrorist burns people alive and is called the new Captain America by a follower. Worst of all, it impacts Sam's character negatively. As I say, he keeps giving her chances, trying to talk them down. It's commendable once or twice, but after they murder multiple people in cold blood, including Battlestar, threaten his family and try to kill a GRC, he still tries to talk the teeny terrorist down. Whatever happened to this guy?
Whoever he used to be, the guy he is now, I don't think he's the kind you save. He's the kind you stop.
He's not even the one that stops her because he refuses to fight. It's Sharon Carter that does that. Then the coup de grace, he flies her in like she's the second coming, mournful music and all, and lectures the people she's just tried to kidnap and murder, telling them not to call her a terrorist. Dude, she literally is a terrorist. This speech is so tone-deaf and ill-judged, there's nothing Captain America about it, so it does more damage to Sam's legitimacy. And this is why I call him Falcon Cap, because it's a claim. He doesn't do anything in this show to prove himself particularly worthy of the shield. Sure, he's a good guy and a hero, but the only way he earns the shield is by deciding he should have it after taking off Walker. And he ends the show being a terrorist apologist. I mean, Cap and Bucky already thought he was worthy, and in one of the worst scenes, Bucky apologises to him because they didn't think about how a black man having the shield might feel. So they treated him like an equal based on his character, not his skin colour, and that's bad apparently. Weird how this stuff works these days. Despite being initially honoured by being given the shield in Endgame, I buy the character we've seen so far in the MCU would be reticent to take on that burden. How could he possibly match up to the legend of Steve Rogers, who he has a pop at by the way? So this show could have been an exploration of that struggle, and by the end he proves himself worthy, mirrored by Bucky's journey of reconciliation with his past. We get neither. Instead, there's a weird, uneven racial element parachuted in which doesn't really fit, and Bucky is pretty much sidelined. So let's hit those racial politics head on. In the comics, it wasn't unusual for Falcon to deal with bigotry and prejudice and the civil rights movement. His girlfriend was an activist. And whilst it's a little tropey that skin colour is the focus when there's a black lead in stories, I mean it happened in Secret Invasion 2, there's no reason you can't reflect on those issues as well as what modern day America is like if you're black, and a black superhero to boot. There are some important conversations to be had. Despite Black Panther only being mid in my opinion, it dealt with those issues really well. The problem is, here it's uneven and undermines itself, so comes across as clumsy, and all too often his skin colour becomes the focus rather than his character and deeds. For example, Sam tries to borrow some money from the bank to help his sister, but the bank say no. Sam and his sister allude to,
"Is it because I was black?"
It seems a weird assumption given Sam's family live in a lovely inclusive town in the south where everyone seems completely friendly. And the truth is, he was snapped for 5 years and has no credit history. It's stupid, but not bigotry. At another point, Sam is objecting to the flamboyant disguise he's had to wear to pretend to be an African criminal, asking,
"Is it because I was black?"
But it turns out that's how the chap dresses. Both of these lean into truths but immediately break the point. There is one quite funny moment.
Hey, it's Black Falcon!
Just
What's up,
Falcon, kid.
No. My daddy told me it's Black Falcon.
Is it because I'm black and I'm the Falcon?
Well, technically, yes.
It's also humorously making the point that it was quite common for black superheroes to be called Black something. On the flip side, Isaiah's story is powerful, and to be honest, I'd rather have seen that featured more prominently instead of being delivered in an exposition dump, albeit a beautifully acted one. Even a single episode focused on his treatment, which is sadly not far from the truth.
Battalion 5, raise your hands. You will be the all-important first attack wave, which we will call Operation Human Shield.
Hey, wait a minute!
Would have increased that impact. So rather than the clumsiness, Isaiah's story could have added to Sam's uncertainty, the revelation that the legacy is tainted. And if that's the direction they wanted to go, maybe they could have addressed that in the first episode when Sam talks to Rhodey about the weight of the decision. Rhodey tells him to ask Bucky about Isaiah before deciding, and that would hold the narrative together better and also feed into the reveal that Rhodey is a Skrull in Secret Invasion, and he says that to try and destabilise the heroes. Alternatively, they could have just told a good fun superhero story. Hence my point that they don't really seem to know what they're writing or what point they want to make. Other than Isaiah and Zemo, for me the real revelation is Walker, played by Wyatt Russell. Despite looking like Carl from Up when he has the helmet on, he's actually a really well written character, which is surprising. It feels like they're trying to make him a sort of antagonist, so end up writing him better as a result. He's a married man, a decorated soldier suffering from PTSD, and a good guy. He's probably the most relatable in the show. As with Sam, he knows it's a heavy burden to be given the shield, but whilst just being human doesn't hold Sam back, Walker keeps failing. Not helped by Sam and Bucky being dicks and obstructive, preventing him from carrying out his mission to stop the terrorists. Walker wants to honour the shield and prove himself worthy. He's desperate but keeps coming up short, until he finally succumbs and takes the secret soldier serum. And lucky for him he did, as both he and his brother-in-arms and friend Battlestar are ambushed by the Flag Smashers. As previously stated, Battlestar is killed and Walker chases down one of the terrorists and brutally and very publicly kills him. Bear in mind, this man he killed was a superpowered terrorist, so presents a clear and present danger. Sam and Bucky approach Walker, and you can tell they're itching for a fight because they corner and flank him immediately. Sure, they weakly attempt to talk him down, but there's not much effort. Again, bear in mind, Sam, an ex-soldier, ran group therapy for ex-servicemen and women. He lost his own wingman on a mission, and spends most of the series empathising with the terrorists, yet has little of that empathy for Walker, who also just watched his best friend be murdered and could do nothing to stop it. Sam of all people should understand it. And if you think about it, Cap killed, Sam killed, Bucky's killed, so the moralising really is out of place. Sure, the killing was OTT, fueled by rage and grief, but only really a problem because it was public and filmed. As a result, Walker is dismissed and humiliated, despite doing the job given to him. So he fashions his own makeshift shield, and when the Flag Smashers rear their head whilst trying to kidnap the GRC, he goes full Punisher mode and charges in, intent on killing every last one of them. He's got the tiny terrorist on the ropes, and she runs. At that same moment, Bucky is struggling, and the members of the GRC are in danger. So Walker has a moment, a choice. Get his revenge or save lives. He chooses to save lives. Despite his grief, anger, and the way he's been treated, he chooses to do the right thing. While Sam's crowning moment is a monumentally dumb speech. Walker actually has an arc. His character is engaging, his motivation is understandable, certainly more than Sam or Bucky's. Just to touch on Bucky for a moment, as he's in the title, as I say, They all too briefly allude to his attempts to repair his past crimes in the first and last episode. There's some banter between him and Sam, which is fun at times, but for the most part, he's sidelined and keeps struggling in fights when clearly he shouldn't. Maybe there was a subtext that his guilt was so strong he was holding back, afraid to go to that place again to become the Winter Soldier and take another life. But that's headcanon on my part. I guess at least they didn't damage his character. See, that's it. The series is replete with lost opportunities. It neither tells a particularly good story nor carries the message the writers seem to want to ladle out, because we all know the audience has to be slapped in the face with the message. Now, Steve Rogers will always be Captain America, like Clark Kent will always be Superman. And perhaps at the passing of the shield, Falcon should have chosen a different nom de plume to give himself credibility and distinction. In the comics, definitely, because that's how derivative characters tend to succeed. However, this isn't the comics, and if they'd handled it well, and there wasn't a current agenda in the MCU, it could have worked. But they seem too busy getting in their own way. They focus on that agenda and identity politics, so the character they want to uplift fails, makes morally questionable choices, and never really has that moment of true heroism. Walker has that moment. I don't know, maybe it's because they just don't understand it. And as I say, it shouldn't be hard. Sam is a hero, a soldier, pararescue. His job in the midst of battle was to save lives. After the military, he worked in the VA and ran a group therapy for ex-service personnel to help them with their trauma. When Cap needed help, he was there, whatever the risk, because he knew it was right and because Cap inspired him. We saw who he was in Captain America the Winter Soldier and continue to be in every appearance. He was a great character. This series just muddles those waters and weakens that engagement I previously had. Maybe Captain America New World Order, or whatever it's called today, will pick him back up. But after this series, it's got one hell of a hill to climb, and whilst I like Anthony Mackie, I'm not sure he has the chops to be a lead. Can Sam, even in part, become that man who inspires others to be better, who stands alone in front of an unbeatable army? Or will he fall forever under the shadow of the icon and be the man who, instead of inspiring others to be better, just yells at them to do better? Time will tell, but reports and massive reshoots don't bode well. Well, that's my two penneth, so I'll leave that there. It's been a while since the show was on, but I wondered what you thought of the series. Did you enjoy it, or did it fall flat for you like it did for me? Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe, and I'm off to watch Captain America the Winter Soldier. Till the next video, peace out.